Welcome back to the deep dive where, well, this time we're ditching the scuba gear and, yeah, diving into something a little different.
Definitely a change of scenery.
We've got excerpts from Big John Fury's Mad Days in the Clink. Yeah, Tyson Fury's dad.
Quite a character from what I've heard.
That's putting it mildly. The stories in this book are something else. We're talking like hold my pint levels of
Well, that's
wild.
half the fun, isn't it? Separating fact from,
Exactly. But it's not just about the entertainment factor. These stories, true or not, they give us a glimpse into a world most of us only see in, films and stuff.
absolutely. Prison culture, reputation, even, dare I say, a bit of father-son psychology with Tyson Fury's background. It's an intriguing lens.
It really is.
Yeah.
And Big John, he doesn't just end up in prison, he makes an entrance. Head high, chest puffed out, that trademark scowl. I mean, the book says even the guards, these guys, they seen it all, right? They supposedly gave him a wide berth.
Makes you wonder, was that calculated? Like a deliberate tactic to establish dominance from day one?
Projecting an image, don't mess with me. A survival strategy almost.
Precisely. It speaks to the power dynamics in these environments. You've got guards, you've got inmates, this constant tension, and then someone like Big John comes in, commanding respect from his fellow inmates.
Yeah.
It disrupts that balance.
He's not just another number.
Exactly. Throws a wrench into the works, so to speak.
Speaking of power and reputation, we got to talk about Mad Terry. This guy, at least according to the book, he's like the prison yard boogeyman. Built like a bulldozer. Everyone's scared of him, except it seems Big John.
Setting the stage for a classic clash of the titans.
Oh, yeah. You can practically hear the music swelling as they set this up. So picture this. Lunchtime in the mess hall. Already a volatile atmosphere, right? Mad Terry, he sees his opportunity, slams his tray down, tries to intimidate Big John, even goes as far as, like, shoving Big John's food off the table.
A clear power play, asserting dominance in front of the entire population.
And for a moment, you think, oh, here we go. This is it. But then, boom, one punch. Mad Terry's down. Still clutching his plastic fork, by the way.
And the entire mess hall erupts, I imagine.
Oh, yeah. It's like a scene from a movie.
Yeah.
But it makes you wonder, how much of that was the actual punch? And how much was Big John's rep? Had he already won the fight before it even began?
Yeah, because everyone in that room knew who he was.
Exactly.
Reputation preceding you, it's a powerful thing. Sometimes half the battle right there.
No doubt. And it's funny, thinking about Big John and these prison yard showdowns. Reminds me of, remember those old Beano comics? The Bash Street Kids always getting into scrapes?
Vaguely, yes.
Well, Big John, he's got his own Bash Street boys to deal with. Except instead of, schoolboys, it's this tough gang from Block C.
Even in prison, you have these hierarchies, these groups vying for control.
Their little slice of the yard, got to protect their turf. And naturally, they see Big John as a threat.
And this time, if we believe the book, he's almost reluctantly drawn into the conflict. Tries to diffuse the situation initially. But, well, prison's not exactly known for its peaceful negotiations.
Not when Big John Fury's involved. This time, the showdown's in the yard, Big John just minding his own business when these Bash Street boys, led by a guy, get this, named Big Ron.
You can't make this stuff up.
I'm telling you. So they decide to make their move. And the book, it describes this whole thing like almost comical. Big John's dodging punches, guys are flying through the air, one even tries to escape by climbing the fence. It's like a cartoon brawl more than an actual fight.
And that's where we get into this whole myth-making aspect.
Yeah.
Especially in environments like prisons, right? Information's controlled, boredom's rampant, stories become currency.
A way to escape the day-to-day.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So even if we take these accounts with, let's say, a grain of salt, they still tell us something about human nature.
Our need to create these larger-than-life narratives.
We crave the extraordinary. And Big John, whether it's his actions or, how others choose to remember them, he embodies that.
He becomes almost a legend. But here's the thing. It's not just about brawls and showdowns. After he's taken on Mad Terry, the Bash Street Boys, you'd think he'd be ready for a nap, right?
Take easy for a while.
Exactly. But not Big John. He becomes this, unexpected figure of authority within the prison.
Almost a reluctant leader, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, he doesn't seek out conflict, but he's not afraid of it either. And he's got this way of, settling disputes, unorthodox methods, let's call them. Like, the book tells this story about two inmates arguing about football. Manchester United versus Liverpool, naturally.
A tale as old as time.
And how does Big John settle this heated debate? Arm wrestling contest.
Classic.
It makes you think, though, are his methods effective because they're actually fair? Or just because nobody's going to question the guy who can, bench press a small car?
It's an interesting question. On the one hand, you could say it's crude, counterproductive even. On the other hand, there's a certain pragmatism to it. In that kind of environment, sometimes the most straightforward solution is the most effective.
He creates his own brand of justice, but like all good things, even Big John's time inside eventually comes to an end.
And of course, his departure is just as dramatic as his arrival, if the book is to be believed.
Oh yeah, the book makes it sound like a scene straight out of like the Shawshank Redemption. Cheers from the inmates, handshakes, even the guards, giving him this respectful nod. Makes you wonder how much of that was genuine versus just, thank goodness he's finally leaving.
A bit of both, maybe. One thing's for sure, Big John Fury. He left his mark. And the stories, whether they're completely true or, embellished a bit over time, they take on a life of their own.
Which brings us back to that bigger question. What do these stories, even the more outlandish ones, tell us about the man who raised Tyson Fury? I mean, it's easy to draw a line from, like, those prison yard scraps to Tyson Fury in the ring, right?
Yeah.
The apple doesn't fall far from the tree, as they say.
Yeah, but it's rarely that straightforward, is it? I mean, human experience, there's always so many factors. Genetics, upbringing, that drive that some people just seem to have.
Right, of course. But don't you think there's something to be said about, those stories we hear growing up, like the almost mythical figures in our lives, the ones who seem larger than life?
Oh, without a doubt. Think about it. Young Tyson Fury, hearing these tales of his dad, taking on all comers in prison, doing things his own way, it's bound to leave a mark.
It's like inheriting a fighting spirit almost, but not through DNA, through narrative, through stories.
Exactly. And whether those stories were 100% true or, embellished a bit for entertainment, doesn't really matter. They become part of his own personal mythology. They shape how he sees the world, what he thinks is possible.
It makes you wonder, did those stories plant a seed? Maybe not a literal blueprint for how to box, but something deeper, like a sense of resilience, a belief that you can overcome obstacles.
That's what I find so fascinating about this whole deep dive. We can talk about the sociology of prison, the psychology of reputation, but at its core, it's about stories, the power they have to shape us.
The ones we tell ourselves, the ones other people tell about us.
It all blends together, doesn't it?
It really does. And maybe, just maybe, there's a little bit of Big John Fury in all of us. That desire to be the hero of our own story, right? To overcome challenges, make our mark on the world.
It's a nice thought, isn't it?
It is. And on that note, we'll leave you to ponder the curious case of Big John Fury in his mad days. Until next time, remember, sometimes the most intriguing truths are hidden within the most outlandish stories.